Welcome to the New Mom Talk podcast, your go-to podcast for evidence-based answers to your burning questions about parenting. Join us as we dive into commonly Googled topics and hear from experts and real moms. Let's navigate parenthood together, one question at a time. So today we're going to talk about actionable steps to strengthen a relationship after baby. I think this is such an important topic because I don't think we really realize how much a baby changes, affects, and causes chaos in a relationship. And you really need to have a strong team and a partner that can help you through these changes as you, as a parent, become a new person. You figure out this new little human that keeps you awake all night. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to E.J. and Tarah.
We are the founders of Relationship Renovation Counseling Center. We created a method to help couples reconnect and oftentimes rebuild their relationship. It was born out of the birth of our two twins. Tarah became pregnant on our honeymoon. When we got married, I had two boys who were like 2 and 4 years old. And so Tarah went from being a swinging single 37-year-old girl living in the condo in the foothills to a parent of 4.
Under 5, getting a minivan.
And it rocked our relationship.
Well, just to give a little back history. So I've been a marriage counselor for 24 years now. EJ and I had met. We were both also specializing in eating disorders. So EJ and I met through that. So we were both therapists while we were together, and we had great connection skills. And then we were like pregnant with twins. Like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I'm a twin, and I just thought it skipped a generation. But even with that idea of like, oh, I'm going from like 0 to 4 children, I thought, yay, I can't wait for this. I'm so excited. I love this man. Like, the universe is giving us everything and so much love. And then up until the day I went into the hospital, like, things were okay. And then after the birth of the twins, who also had colic for 9 months, both of them, I had no idea what colic even was. And so that's where it all started. Like, I didn't know how difficult that transition would be. And I just had this expectation that we got this, and also that EJ has this because he's had 2 kids before, even though they weren't twins. Like, he knows everything. And so fast forward, 10 years later, I felt compelled, like, if 2 therapists are having this difficult of a time, we have to help people in our community. And we've created this amazing center with 15 therapists helping hundreds of couples every single week. And it's like this blessing that came from what I thought I was being punished with for anything bad I ever did. Was I'm being punished. This colic is punishing me for anything I've ever done. And I think it was this blessing that came from it because we got through it and we're here. And now we teach the skills that we didn't have then, but we were compelled, and we have them now, and we help thousands of couples around the world, even with our podcast. It's felt amazing.
You just had all sorts of things thrown at you. Like, hey, you're 37, you can handle this. Here are 4 curveballs.
And postpartum depression, I had no idea. I got all this suffering to help other people after I could help myself. But I can't tell you how many couples we've worked with now, and I can easily identify that's postpartum depression. And they're like, wait, what? So then I refer them to a specialist. Like, they would have not even known. They just think like, oh, we're not supposed to be together because it's really like she doesn't like me anymore. And so even just providing that psychoeducation piece.
Well, I think postpartum is a thing that, like, you just sort of hope it's not going to be you and you think it's somebody else. You know how it is. Like, when you have a kid, like, literally the day they're born, your life gets flipped upside down. You're just surviving for a year and a half in some ways to 2 years. And then having like the awareness that Sarah was going through postpartum, you don't even realize you're in it. I think that that's a huge part of once you've done something and you've gone through it and you've actually experienced it, it makes it easier to identify it in other people.
It feels so validating because so in every session when we're working with couples, or we have an at-home program and we do their relationship timeline, it is usually after the birth of their child, that's when things start to go offline because we don't learn the skills how to deal with minor or major transitions. Like humans don't like transitions.
I like to call it having a baby is like a car wreck in your relationship. It's just like you just sideswiped. As much as you prepare and as much as you nest and you create your meal train of people bringing food over, that the minute that kid shows up, it is like,
well, if you don't have the skills, right, to deal with that and to talk about it and to plan for it and to prep for it. And so it's just validating a lot of couples. It was like, wow, we started to disconnect after the baby because now that becomes a priority because we're keeping this human alive or these.
Or it's just stressful because in stressful times is when we fall into, autonomic responses, right? And a lot of those aren't our best sides of ourself either.
You want to talk a little bit about, given your background and what you guys do, if you guys have any practical tips or ways that couples can maintain open communication during that postpartum time, because as mentioned, like it is a really hard time. Couples don't really communicate as much. You're exhausted. You're sleep deprived.
Yeah. So
Go for it.
So one of the very first things that was starting to happen that I didn't know was happened was this feeling of resentment. He would leave the house all day and come home and I would be like, how dare you be out in the public without nursing clothes on? Like I just started to have these feelings of resentment. And I knew that if I didn't do something about that it was going to get really bad. And I just know I love him, but I never had felt so overwhelmed, tired, exhausted, right? Nursing every hour, up for days. So the first thing I did was I said, EJ, when I say burnt toast, so burnt toast is our code word. Burnt toast, for any new moms out there, like I kept trying to make a piece of toast and then I would forget because I would get so busy nursing and then I'm like, oh, my toast or my coffee. So I said, EJ, when I say burnt toast, that means I can't talk anymore. I'm overstimulated. I'm having thoughts that aren't like who I am. They're not good. Good is coming from this. So I'm going to remove myself and I'm just going to go read an Us magazine or do like a little meditation. I think removing myself, saying code word, it helped me to understand the resentment was just my overwhelm and it was my first time experiencing this and I don't want to put it on EJ because he's actually working really hard too. And so the code word, it's one of the first things we teach our couples at our center, like get into your window of tolerance, get back into your window of tolerance because what our nervous system is mirroring right? Our baby picks up on it, our husband picks up on it, our partner picks up on it. So code word was one of the very first things we used to start creating space for the conversations like, man, you've just been on this super couch all day with these two babies, feeding them, nursing them every hour, honey. What is that like for you to not have your body, right? Yeah. But we couldn't have that until I could create some space.
Yeah. I mean, and from my side, I think like a tool or an awareness is, and I saw Tarah struggle with this and have definitely, over the years working with couples seen is I think moms feel like they have to do it all themselves. Yes. And if they're not able to just do it in the most graceful, perfect, beautiful way, that they're somehow failing. And that what that led to is a lot of times I think was Tarah would mask like that I'm okay until she would get to a breaking point. And then she would snap and she would be angry or she'd just fall to pieces. Mm-hmm. And it would be, I think it's confusing to the partner or the husband because it's like, well, I mean, like an hour ago you were like saying like you were fine and you were telling me about this new swaddling technique and you were like super mom. And so I think that having a conversation early on is like, depending on your partner, is like, is it going to be hard for you to ask for support? How will I know if you need support, but you're not asking for it? How can we cultivate an environment where you ask for support before maybe you need it? How can we like preventatively, and believe me, this is all the stuff that we did not do. And what it led to was a very burnt out, emotionally strained relationship.
I was in my minivan, like driving to my twin sisters in Kentucky, like I'm divorcing you. I did not sign up for this. I had no idea, but I knew I loved him more than anything in the whole wide world. It It was so confusing. And so then there's that shame piece, right? For new moms, like, oh my gosh, there must be something wrong with me that I can't handle this. And not even with just our partners. I would go to these nursing groups and I would nurse at the same time. And sometimes I would just cry. And some of these ladies would be like, don't cry. Your baby's picking up on that. And I'm like, I feel judged here too. Like, I can't go anywhere that feels safe. And so all I knew was people were like, just keep nursing every hour. I'm like, okay, I got that. And I felt like I didn't have the support that I needed and I was alone in it. And so going back, I said, EJ, I would have given all of our life savings to hire a night nurse because they wouldn't take a bottle even if I did pump. I would have done all of that, but I thought I had to do it all by myself. And so I took it on and probably just depleted my little adrenal until I crashed. And so it's, another thing, not only just using code word to help you regulate and get back to like not a normal you, but just a you that feels like okay and somewhat calm. Asking for that support, whatever you can do, whether it's a night nurse or a friend to come over for a couple of hours. We didn't have our first date until a year and 1 month after the twins were born. We did not go on one date because I didn't think that I could leave the twins with anybody because of their colic and they needed to be nursing every hour. I wish I could go back and be like, in order for me and EJ to stay connected, and it's a priority, like we have to go on a date night, even just once a month, even if it's a walk around the neighborhood to get out. Like that is the one thing that we really emphasize now, like no matter how colicky, whatever, like take that time for your person to really cultivate that connection between the two of you because it's a significant transition and we don't usually have the tools for them.
And I love that you mentioned that because that's actually my next question. So how can couples make time for each other when you're so busy caring for this other human? Like, what are some ways to find the time, especially if you don't have support or outside help?
So I'm just thinking back, like every single day, Marielle, I would make a different schedule, right? Because every month is different. It's like every single day I would be like, okay, here's my schedule for the day. Not once did it include EJ ever. I was just like grasping, like, okay. And usually, right, you can't really predict a schedule and every time it's different. And so now we say you wake up in the morning or you're still up from the night of nursing and you do what Dr. Stan Tatkin, he's a researcher in the field, plan, predict, prepare. You can't predict everything, but you can try to prepare and plan for it as much as you can. Hey, honey, when I get home from work, I'm going to give you 20 minutes to go and do whatever you need to take a bath by yourself where you don't have to have the babies on the floor in the bathroom while you're trying to take a shower. And that just having that like, oh my gosh, at 7 o'clock, I'm going to be able to take a shower or a bath. Having some kind of plan that feels like realistic, but that your partner and you are in it together to be like, we've got this. I'm not alone in it.
I think that having the awareness that taking care of the mom separate from the babies is a priority because I think that there's like a evolutionary biological component where especially the mom, all focus is taking care of the baby. Like it's like there can be nothing other than keeping these two helpless, really, little creatures alive, right? And I think what we ignore is that the mom needs to be cultivated and she needs time alone. And that in some ways that's symbiotic, that by taking care of mom, by giving her some alone time, it's actually good for the babies because Tarah, I think, would have been much, much happier. I think she would have been more emotionally regulated. If we would have gone in together, if we would have predicted, like she said, planned and prepared for taking care of her, it would have been a very different story, right? And so I think, like, to me, that's a big thing, is making sure that you know that taking care of mom is a huge priority and has to have, and then that would have made space for us, right? Mm-hmm. And then she would have resented me less. And then we would have wanted to take dates, because I think a part of why we didn't go on dates, it was hell around the house. It was super stressful all the time. It was like, well, why the hell do I want to go on a date? Like, we don't even like each other.
I wanted to say one thing really quickly. The blended family part, because I know that blended families, it's kind of like the new modern family. I remember that they were kindergarten and preschool. And so not only did I have these two twins, I also was expected to get the kids from school and you'd have to walk into the class and get them. I was like, how am I going to do their homework and teach them the alphabet and cook the dinner? We did not plan for what my role was as the stepmom. And I feel like that's where I felt very resentful. And so if any of your listeners are part of the blended family, like really role clarification, especially in that first year, like I did all of it and I was so mad. I was like, why? This isn't my job.
Hi everyone, it's your host Mariella. I wanted to thank you for listening and share some ways to show your continued support. You can rate and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Share the show with friends and family. Buy me a coffee to help with the financial costs of running a podcast. Follow me on Instagram at newmomtalk.podcast. And finally, subscribe to my newsletter. Thank you for listening.
I feel like that's just another piece of the blended family part because it was too much. But I, trying to be super mom, did it.
I like that you mentioned like that kind of unequal distribution of like the mental load and the tasks done at home, right? And so that usually is kind of a big factor with people not being able to communicate or not get along. You as a mom are doing a lot more naturally, especially if you're nursing, right? Like dad can't take over the nursing. He just isn't producing the milk.
Yeah.
So with that, what are some strategies that can help manage this unequal distribution and for parents to just be able to be more on the same page and in tune with one another of what's going on?
I mean, I think if we would have had some conversations around, Tarah, you can't do it all. Like we said with the perfect mom thing and just the natural sort of biological thing of the mom and the baby needing the mom, of just if we would have just connected around like you can't do it all. So what do we figure out that I can consistently do? And because that was, again, I think that was a breakdown, is there were things I did to help, but there were probably not things I consistently did that Tarah could like depend upon. And again, that would have created space for her of if she knows every night I do the bath, that's 45 minutes that she knows every night. And it would have built confidence for her that, oh, EJ's dependable, because I think that was like he's not dependable. He won't be there to do the things I need to be well.
In Brene Brown's words, clear is kind. The clearer you can get on a morning, afternoon, evening schedule, that'll set you up the most for success. And then another really important thing is the intimacy piece, right? Because there's not talk about, well, I might not want you to touch my body for a little bit after. I didn't know. I was like, my desire was high during pregnancy. And we didn't talk about it. But so now this with intimacy, physical and emotional intimacy, tension started to grow. I had already felt so tired and just exacerbated. Like I had no space or energy left for any type of physical intimacy. And then I think poor EJ felt like, right, she doesn't like me anymore. She's not attracted to me anymore. But we didn't talk about it. So now we're in these assumptions and these stories. And now there's a horrible tension around physical intimacy, which is like the most beautiful thing in the world. And so now we've learned how to navigate that, and we help many couples learn, but they don't talk about it. Like, wow, what's it like for you to kind of go from like this high sexual desire to like nothing? Like we're not curious about each other in that way. What's it like for you, EJ, to feel like this wife that was touching you and kissing you all the time to be like, don't even look at me? Like just having the curiosity conversations around what that unique experience is like is so powerful. But again, we don't learn to talk about that a lot in our life. And so it's something now that we really engage couples in because it's so important.
Yeah. Do you have any like key takeaways on this? Because I think this is a big part that, like you said, it really isn't talked about, whether it's the emotional or the physical intimacy piece, on how couples can really communicate about what their needs are, what their expectations are, or what they're really able to give during this time.
Well, it's so interesting because when intimacy kind of fractures, it creates a significant divide between the couple. I knew that I felt that like, oh my gosh, like I was so anxious about it. And so recognizing now that we were both uniquely struggling in a different way, I was grieving the loss of my desire, of my energy, of my connection to my husband. We used to spend so much time together. I get tearful about it now, but he didn't know because there was such tension around it. And I think if you just talk about that, it's grief for both of us. And it's not going to be like that forever. It's just right now. And so one of the lessons we do with our couples, it's called acceptance versus resignation. Like right now it's overwhelming and we know that we do want to have this physical, intimate relationship. And it might not be happening right now, but we're going to be working together in it so that we can get it back. And so just that acceptance versus resignation piece. Sorry.
I think it's just a complex thing, especially just in the context of that first couple years, because there's so much going on. And to like, it felt on my side, like I had this awareness, like it's sort of selfish to even go there. And so you just avoid it, you just put it away. And it probably would have served us to, again, the more you can talk about something before it happens, at least you'll have a context for when it does happen. And so I think like, again, there wasn't a lot, when we went to our pre-baby meetings at the OB, there wasn't any like, okay, let's talk about how you guys are going to navigate your sexual relationship after the baby. Like, let me tell you, here's some things I know. So I think maybe like seeking some information is not a bad thing as well. And knowing like it's not everybody, but it's a lot of people who have a really hard time reconnecting sexually after a baby is born.
Curiosity. What's it like for you and your body? And like just that the dynamic has shifted. It's powerful. And when we're starting those conversations with couples during our intimacy portion of our approach, it's like you just see them melting down because they didn't realize that both of them are suffering just in different ways. But at the core of it is like that severed sense of belonging. They lost that sense of belonging with each other, and now we're going to get it back.
All of your information linked in the show notes. So for anyone that wants to reach out to you, wants to listen to your podcast. But just before we go, do you guys have any other tips, suggestions, or anything, any final thoughts you want to share?
I think the thing that we did do, and I think it's why we're here now, is we did consistently go outside and talk. We did, like after the babies would go to bed or as they became toddlers, and even now we found some time to have enjoyable moments together. And that to me is like there's got to be some baseline of enjoying each other's presence. And so just figuring out and doing some prep work on okay, let's plan for ways in which we can just, even if we can't go out because we don't have a babysitter or whatever, but let's plan like what's something we can do weekly that makes us just enjoy each other's presence.
Yeah, carving out the time.
And I'll end with this. Like in our lobby, it says, our partner is our greatest teacher. Be patient for the lessons. That usually in times of suffering, that is when you can grow into your best selves together. And although we went through a lot of hurdles, like it's true, there's a sense of freedom that comes through getting through that. And so just being aware that like usually difficult times are lessons and that we learn from each other instead of giving up on each other. And so that's what I would like to end with.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next week for our next episode. You can find us on Instagram for more updates and tips. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts and give us a review if you like us.